Hello, Kristin here, and welcome to my channel, From Chronic Fatigue to Chronic Abundance. Every Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, I show up here to answer your questions about how to live better with the symptoms of severe chronic fatigue. So, a thunderstorm has literally just started outside my window. I saw the first flash of lightning and heard the first roll of thunder just as I was starting this up. That's why you saw my dog in the background. He doesn't like thunderstorms. So I don't know how loud it's going to get. If you hear anything that sounds like thunder, it probably is. So welcome. The way that these work, if you haven't been here before, is that we have a chat box. I think it's over here from Relative. I see it over here, but I think you guys see it over here. And it's a place to say hi. Let me know where you're showing up from and to drop all the questions you have. None of the questions are too big or too small, too personal or too weird, as long as they have to do with living with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom. So why do I do this and why do I talk about this stuff? So I am currently a healthy, fully able-bodied human being. I can work as much as I want. I can work out as much as I want to. I have fun planning my future and, well, not really going on trips right now. I'm able to physically, but not logistically. I'm into horseback riding and getting better at that. I'm into riding my one wheel around Philadelphia, one wheel being a electric skateboard with a big fat go-kart tire in the middle. I can cook food and take showers in the same day, okay? Now, it wasn't always like this. 10 years ago, I began having really weird, debilitating symptoms where I would be fine going about my business, working at my big shot consulting job, going to my CrossFit gym, really big into nutrition, living my social life, which was very much like work hard, play hard back then. I was going out and partying way too often. And then I would just suddenly out of nowhere kind of collapse, not be able to breathe, not have the energy to even hold myself sitting upright. I would be left just gasping for air wherever I was in that moment. And that became more frequent until I was fully unable to be employed. I couldn't work an hour a day from my laptop in bed because not only was the physical fatigue so extreme, the mental exhaustion, the mental fog was also so extreme that I couldn't hold a thought. I couldn't read an email and be able to respond to it at the same time because I just couldn't hold thoughts in my brain, as I'm sure many of you can relate to. So this is just a super high level, super quick overview of my health history. If you guys want to ask more questions about my health history, I'm happy to answer those. Basically what happened was I had my first health crisis, and that lasted several years. And I was unemployed for almost 2 years of that time. And I got better, okay, after finding the right people to work with and the right treatments and the right mindset to heal. I got my life back again. And when I say I got my life back, I mean I was working full-time in an office again, more than full-time in an office. I was traveling and exercising and like living life up. I had a year of that when my health inexplicably crashed again. All of it taken away from me. The second time around, I went from fully functioning to completely ill again in about 6 weeks. It was a very rapid decline. The second time I got sick. But I was on my healing journey from that, getting better, starting to work out again, starting to work again, when I crashed again. And pretty fully crashed. And then learned how to heal from that. Now, here's the thing. I healed faster each and every time because I had learned how to heal. I was able to heal with intention. And it wasn't about any particular single supplement I used. It wasn't about a particular person I worked with, because every time I healed, I worked with different people. I had different blood work. I needed different supplements. I needed to support my body in different ways. So the one thing that helped me heal every single time was my mindset. That's the only thing I can tell you for sure you need to heal. Okay? Now, I'm not saying it's in your head. My mindset didn't heal me alone. Okay? I had physical problems that needed to be addressed as well. However, how we heal has a lot to do with our behaviors and our thoughts. And our mindset actually dictates our thoughts and our behavior. So by adopting the right mindset, the healing mindset, as I call it, it helped influence my actions, okay? And the big thing that the healing mindset did for me day to day and can do for you day to day is to help you save energy. With the wrong mindset in place, we're actually wasting a lot of our precious energy on heavy thoughts and heavy emotions that we dwell on and get stuck in, okay? And the healing mindset can help us get into those lighter emotions that give us more energy, okay? And it may be a small energy difference on a daily basis, but when our energy is already so low, even small amounts of energy make a difference. And that little bit of extra energy you have, you can start pouring into your healing journey. Spend more time looking for the right people to work with. Spend more time applying the treatments and things that you need, more energy to go to the doctors and get the blood work that you need, and more energy to avoid crashes, okay? So while mindset is not the only thing you need to heal, if you adopt the perfect healing mindset, it doesn't guarantee you're going to get better from that alone, but it's going to give you the hope and motivation and a little bit extra energy to continue doing the hard work of discovering all of the physical things your body needs on your healing journey. Okay, so that's what we talk about here. Hello, whoever is out there. I can't see who is on. If you guys would say hey in the chat box, I can know who I'm talking to. Let's see. Okay, it did just start raining pretty hard here. No more lightning or thunder though, so we might be out of the woods there, which is good. So there's been a lot happening in the world since we last spoke 2 weeks ago. And when I was last on here 2 weeks ago, I let you guys know that I wouldn't be hosting this last week because I actually got to go on a little vacation. Didn't go very far. We drove about 2 hours outside of the city. We were up in the woods. It was a small family trip. My boyfriend's brother and his fiance and their son were out there in the woods with us. And it was really, really relaxing and restorative for me to get to be out in the woods and just chill a little bit, which was really important because I don't know how much any of you have kept up with what's happening in the US right now, or what was happening over the past, couple weeks. And I still don't have all the right words to talk about this, but I just feel like it's important to say something. So in the US, as I'm saying it this way because a lot of people who join me here aren't from the US. Some of you are, some of you aren't. So just speaking to everybody here, there have been a lot of huge riots, protests and riots happening here in the US across many different cities about racism and social injustices against Black people specifically here in the US, which there is an extremely long history of since before our country was founded. And it's all come to a head recently after yet another murder of a Black man by a police officer. And in my city, in Philadelphia, there were riots a couple weeks ago on Saturday. What would it have been? May 30th. And it was happening literally on my doorstep. I live in an apartment building, and while the riots and protests didn't come into my building, they were right outside the front door of the building. I went down to the lobby for a while and just watched the riots happening. We had people downstairs with us, barricading the door and just kind of standing there and being a presence to deter any rioters or looters from coming in later at night. And, witnessing that mayhem firsthand, after having witnessed the peaceful protests earlier in the same day, was a really strong juxtaposition. I mean, I was watching the convenience store across the street from me get looted. I watched the glass being broken. I watched dozens and dozens and dozens of people for the rest of the night going in and looting and stealing things. And I watched buildings in my neighborhood burn. I look over to where they were, like right over there. I watched buildings burn that night. And I guess I'm sharing all of this because it's really got me thinking more deeply about ways that I may have been unknowingly contributing to racism and white power. And, one thing that's been glaringly obvious to me when I think about it, now that I'm thinking about it, is that there have been very, very few people of color who have come and interacted on this channel, if any. There may have been none. I can't always know who is who in the chat box over here because people don't always share their pictures. But I guess we tend to make assumptions based on names and how people talk. And I don't know that there's ever been a person of color, let alone a Black person of color, who's come and tried to get help this way. And I don't know if there's something I'm doing or not doing that is presenting a barrier there. I don't know how to go about making what I do more available and more attractive to people of color. And while I'm thinking about that and learning about that, I guess I want to put it out there to acknowledge that. And also to say, it's no one's job to educate me on how to do this well. But if anyone has ideas and wants to share them with me, I'm open to learning about how to make this more accessible and more attractive to people of color. I want to make that statement there. So, words about this topic always feel inadequate. And yet I'm learning it's better to say something that's not the right thing than to say nothing at all and pretend like it's not happening. So, I don't want to take up this whole hour talking about this. I believe the rest of you also deserve support and help with the challenges that you face in life. So I would love to get back to helping people with their health issues. So there's that. Wow, I really didn't even look in the mirror before I came on today, guys. I have been so busy with this new business I'm starting. It's busy in a really, really good way. But it has meant that I'm just kind of hopping from thing to thing and not preparing as much as I normally do. So it's a little darker in here than normal because of the clouds and the rain that's happening. Today's a very unusual session, I suppose. I would love questions from you guys. I hope you're typing your questions up for me. Let me give you some examples. If you've never been here before, I want to give you some examples of things that we've talked about a lot. We end up talking about nutrition and diets a lot lately, which has been interesting. And I think I have sort of an unusual stance on those things. It doesn't resonate with everybody. Actually, let me say, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a nutritionist. I am not certified in anything. Okay. I cannot give medical advice. I cannot diagnose you. I cannot tell you what you need to do for your health journey. What I can do is share what's worked for me, and I can give you my opinion on things, but it is always up to you to decide what to do for yourself next. Okay. Yeah, we talked about diet and nutrition a lot and its impact on health, what people need to be doing, what they shouldn't be doing. We have been talking about what to do when a significant other, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a husband, a wife, is kind of maybe doubting what's happening, or they're no longer entirely supportive of the path you've chosen to discover your healing journey. How do you cope with that emotionally? How do you, sort of have those conversations with them? What do you personally do about it? How do you process it? We're always talking about the healing mindset, even if I don't call it that in every single video, which is about how to generate more hope and motivation for yourself, how to feel all of the feelings you're having without dwelling on those, because we always want to be looking forward to the future and helping ourselves progress as much as we can, while acknowledging the fact that we are human beings and imperfect and we have feelings that we need to deal with sometimes. We've also talked about things like the difference between depression versus just being sad about really shitty life circumstances. I think that's a really important one that we've talked about a couple times. We've talked about how to reframe guilt. So many people feel guilty when they're so sick. They feel guilty that they can't be there for other people the way that they used to be, and how to reframe that in a more positive way to help retain relationships and to help eliminate that heavy burden of guilt that we don't need to be feeling. We're just adding to our pain and suffering when we're living with severe chronic fatigue as a symptom and feeling guilty about it, because it's not our fault. If we could change it, we absolutely would change it in a snap of our fingers. That was weird. The the contrast or whatever on the camera changed the moment I snapped my fingers. That wasn't planned. What else have we talked about? People come on and they'll ask about my health journey. They'll ask about specific parts of it. I'll talk about that a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about the treatments and things that I use, but I don't like to talk about that a whole lot because it just isn't that useful. Like I will talk about the things I've had tested. I will talk about things I've been diagnosed with, because I think it's important to start conversations around what to look at, because most of us don't have credible doctors who understand this stuff and know what to look at. So if we can start guiding some of our own testing, I think that can be really important and useful. But there's a limitation in how useful that is, because, even if you're able to have someone test all these things for you, if you don't have someone who knows how to appropriately read and decipher the blood work, and most importantly, who understands the relationships between different about it. Okay. And I want to share like one example of this for anybody who's new. I have been diagnosed with iodine deficiency. This was a decade ago. I was diagnosed with iodine deficiency, and I've been supplementing with iodine ever since. And that's been very important for me. All right. And I've talked about that a lot on here, being very careful to say, like, I don't think anyone should just start supplementing with iodine like I did, because you can actually suffer very negative health consequences as a result of iodine supplementation, depending on your personal biological status. Iodine supplementation has been shown to create thyroid disease. Okay. It can give you hypothyroidism, or it can give you hypothyroidism. It can create detox issues in the body, where it can suddenly start kicking out heavy metals from the body. And if the body's not properly supported in that, you'll feel very terrible, and you'll think that the iodine is a bad thing for you, when really the iodine is doing something good. It's just that your body's not able to properly detox the heavy metals that are being kicked out. Another thing it can do, and something it was doing for me, and I didn't know about until I got tested, is that iodine can actually help your body detox bromides. And when your body's detoxing bromides at a high volume very quickly, one of the major symptoms is extreme fatigue and sleepiness and brain fog, right? So you need to know what to test for before and after starting iodine supplementation. And then you need to know what to do about those things, because you may need additional support for your body through iodine supplementation. And that is just a small list of the problems that iodine can create. It can do a whole host of other things to your body. And that's why it's so important to be partnered with a practitioner who knows what the heck they're doing. And I shared this specific example because talking about my iodine deficiency, one of the women on here who's been a regular, such a sweet woman, Anna, went and actually had her iodine levels tested by a practitioner, and she actually came back severely deficient. And because we were working together, she knew to test for it, but what to do with that test result has been a little bit of an issue, where she had to go find a new practitioner who actually understood iodine supplementation to work with. And that's not an easy thing, and not everyone's going to find someone who's that knowledgeable about iodine near them, although it's always worth looking. So I just share that as like a cautionary tale of like, yeah, I will talk about what I've been diagnosed with, what I've tested, because that can be helpful to you, but there are limited applications to that, because we all need someone to guide us. And to further that point, I would say every person I personally know who has healed, like gotten their life fully back from severe chronic fatigue, whether they've been diagnosed with ME/CFS, whether they've been diagnosed with additional or other things like lupus or fibromyalgia, or even like people who have had Lyme's disease with severe chronic fatigue. Every single person I personally know who has gone through those and gotten better has done so not by doing their own research. None of these people healed themselves. They all worked with other people who had been where they were, severely ill, same symptoms, the whole 9 yards, and then learned how to get better. Okay, so it's if you're going around asking people for advice about what to do, if they haven't gotten healthy themselves, I would really think twice about acting on their advice. Okay, you want to be taking the advice of people who have achieved the results that you want. Not that they have all the answers for you, but they, like, if you're going to build a house, are you going to hire the guy who's never built a house before? Or are you going to hire the guy who's built 100 homes before? Like, you want someone who's done this kind of thing before. Your health is too precious. The body is too complex not to. Yeah. So, and I'm not saying like there's one type of person you have to go to. Like people, like I myself found the most help by working with people who were like actual like health coaches or licensed MDs, or the one guy was even just a licensed acupuncturist who has a tremendous amount of education in biology and the body and supplementation and all this kind of good stuff. Other people I know have worked with people who have like almost no medical help, and it's more about lifestyle changes and changing how the autonomic nervous system works in the body. A lot of people have had very great results by working on their autonomic nervous system through lifestyle changes. And I have incorporated some of those as well. Like I would say some of those autonomic nervous system changes were absolutely crucial for me healing, in addition to the medical support that I got. So yeah, I'm sharing those to kind of give you an idea that like there is no one way to heal. There is no magic bullet. I know you can go online and you can find someone who says, this diet healed me, this supplement healed me, this is what you need, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, this thing, and it's all different things, right? And most of those people, maybe it did help them, but anyone who's saying there was one thing or one quick thing, maybe it's going to help for like 0.01% of people, okay? Like it's not something that's likely going to help you, unfortunately. There are people out there who offer programs that work, but they tend to be longer term, more complex, more involved programs that, yes, do cost money, do require energy and effort, but it's because that's what's required. If this were simpler, easier, faster, cheap to get out of, we'd have all figured out what that thing is by now and we'd all be doing it. Okay? It took me 6 years, so much money, so much effort, and so much work to get out of where I was. But I tell you what, it was all worth it. Completely worth it. All right, guys, this is a long time with no questions. I can only keep myself talking for so long. I don't like to just like come up with stuff off the top of my head and talk about it because I'm not sure if that's what you really need help with. I'm not sure if that is going to be of service to you. That's why I love answering questions so I can meet you where you're at and give you guys the value that's going to help you today. Sorry, my cat. I don't know if you could hear that. My cat likes to play plants. Like he'll like sit up on his hind legs and he'll like on the leaves to make a noise. He loves doing it. Let's see. All right. Oh, hi, Anna. Absolutely. I hope you're okay with me mentioning that. I went ahead and mentioned it because we've talked about it here on these videos before. So if anyone watches the old videos, you know, it doesn't seem like it's private. And you just are such a great example all around as well. Come here, Darius. Come here, bud. Ooh, right on the couch. Isn't he a sweet boy? He looks pretty dark. He is black with a little bit of brown. He's a sweetie. Okay, great. I thought so, Anna. Thank you. Let's see. I need some questions. I'm going to think of one more thing to just dialogue, to just not even dialogue on, to lecture on. And then I'm going to call it quits. So I hope to have some questions by then to answer. Come here, Healthy. Come here. Maybe you can meet the cat too. This is Halford. Halford is black as well. They're very black pets. Very dark, but so sweet. Look at his eyes. Aren't they crazy? They glow. Oh, this is really great. They must both really be off-put by the rain and the storm right now, because they aren't normally both this cuddly at the same time. Halford normally wouldn't come anywhere near this close to Darius. Darius is the dog. All right. One more thing for me to monologue on. Give me a second here to come up with something good. All right, I'll share something that someone gave me the feedback on the other week, that this was really helpful to hear from me. They said they don't hear it from other people. It is the fact that when you have severe chronic fatigue, whether or not you're diagnosed with ME/CFS, or whether you're diagnosed with anything, if you're living with that symptom, the one thing that you absolutely need to do is avoid crashes, okay? That post-exertional malaise, that's one of the hallmark symptoms of ME/CFS, where, you can be just like putzing along at a low level of energy, and then it can kind of feel like your heart rate might be racing a little bit, your heart rate's rising, and even though you're not really doing much of anything, maybe all you do is stand up, and then your energy crashes and your exhaustion is vastly out of proportion with the effort you expended. Every time you go through a crash, you're actually hurting yourself. You're actually digging that hole a little bit deeper, and you're having to rest an extreme amount over the next hours or days or weeks to recover from that crash, okay? And to really start getting along on your healing journey, you're going to do that a lot faster once you learn to avoid the crashes. And the best way to avoid crashes is pacing, okay? You can Google like ME/CFS pacing, and there's a ton of info about that. Even if you haven't been diagnosed with ME/CFS, it's very useful information. And it's all about learning to live within your energy envelope, as they say. Kind of like a bank account. If you get $100 a day as someone who's severely ill, whereas maybe like a normal person gets like $10,000 a day, dollars being energy, with your $100, you can spend. You can go negative in your balance, but every time you go negative, it's like crashing, and it's like being charged a fee for overdrafting, right? So you have to make even more money to get out of the hole when you crash, because it's like you've gone negative in your bank account balance. And if you're trying to save money, right, it's going to be really important to avoid those overdraft fees, avoid that crashing. And the way to do that is to learn your body's early warning signs of overexertion and listening to them. The hardest part of pacing is listening as soon as your body and mind tell you to slow down, to stop doing whatever you're doing, because we want to live our lives. We want to be working. We want to be cleaning the house. We want to be cooking. We want to be spending time with people, right? It's the emotional, psychological work of saying, what I need to do more than anything right now is rest, and I'm going to accept that. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to whine about how unfair it is. I am simply going to accept that this is the best thing I can do for myself. Even though it's not what I want to do, it's what I'm going to do, because that's how I started advancing my healing journey. Now, for the vast majority of people, pacing is not enough to heal you either. However, it can prevent you from getting worse, and it can help give you a more like stable sensation of energy, because you're not crashing and going through those up and down cycles as much. And it can help you feel a little bit better over some time, okay? So it's one of those things that is about a small improvement that you can start to notice that makes it easier to continue on your healing journey when you've learned how to stop crashing through pacing, okay? It's not going to heal you, but it's going to make the journey a lot easier over time and a lot more enjoyable too, to be honest. Not that passing up on like social events is enjoyable, but not crashing is really great too. Okay. Oh, hello, Alonzo. Good to see you again. Have I heard any stories regarding antidepressants and healing from CFS? No, I have not heard anything about antidepressants helping people heal from CFS. Doesn't mean they're not out there, but I haven't heard them. Oh, Anna has an update about her iodine story. The iodine doctor that he wants to wait before iodine loading test. Oh, he found out that your cortisol is super low during the day and he wants to address it first. That's so smart, Anna. See, this is why when you find a knowledgeable practitioner, which Anna went a long time without finding someone really great. Like, I think we've all been there where, we're stuck with someone who's subpar. If we have the resources, the ability to look for someone else, we absolutely should, because when you do find the right person, this is the kind of help that you get from them. Whereas, if Anna had just gotten that iodine test and started supplementing with iodine right away, like who knows what kind of stress that would have put her body under. And if she has severely low cortisol during the day, her body isn't able to adequately handle stresses because of her cortisol being so low. And the cortisol being low could also be contributing to her feelings of fatigue and brain fog during the day. So by getting that cortisol fixed, she's going to give her body the best chance possible for healing. So like supplementing with iodine right now could hurt her body because of the low cortisol. Treating the cortisol now could help her body handle iodine supplementation down the road, right? But you have to have those tests and you have to be able to read those tests and understand and interpret the results to know what's going to go on and how's it going to happen. So I'm really happy you have those answers, Anna. I'm really glad you have a plan in place. That sounds like a good one. I'm so happy you found somebody who seems to know what's up. All right. And maybe this is the last doctor you'll ever need. Maybe he'll get you across the finish line of healing to where you want to be. Maybe not. Maybe this person's only like part of your healing journey, just going to get you from, point A to point B as opposed to Z, but that's okay too. Like I definitely needed different people at different times to get me from where I wanted to be. And I share that kind of thing to help people set the right expectations, get the right mindset of like, we're never hoping that one doctor or one supplement or one treatment or one test is all we need to get better. Because it's almost never that simple. It's typically more of a series of things that chips away at our health and advances our healing journey, like one step at a time. Let's see. Anna started the Gupta program, and it's really relaxing. I've never heard of the Gupta program. There are so many things out there that are helping people now with brain training and neuroplasticity for chronic conditions specifically. That's fantastic. I like that he calls it neuroplasticity because that's pretty much what all of the ANS rewiring stuff is. It's not just changing how your nervous system works, it's changing how your brain is telling your nervous system to work, which is all neuroplasticity. Yeah, it looks interesting. Thanks for sharing. It really helps you to come down, to rest, to meditate, to focus less on your symptoms. All great things. All the things I talk about, healing mindset stuff. Yeah, sounds great. Nika, hello. How are you? I'm glad you're here. You went to a lab on Monday to test iodine. Now you're waiting for results. Super cool. Always good to get things tested. You've done the Nutrivol test. Hope it shows something wrong. Wow. I mean, I hope you get answers too. I'm not saying I hope that's what's wrong with you, but I hope you get answers. Nutrivol. Oh, like nutrition evaluation test. Never heard of this one. So I think it sounds like from the brief Google search I did. It sounds like it is a nutrient deficiency test. Like it's looking for nutritional deficiencies in you. I'm trying to find a list of what all they test because I'm curious now. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the NutrEval test, it doesn't look like it really tests that much. It tests some, like it tests more than most doctors will ever test, which is definitely a great place to start. So it looks like they test about 16 different supplements and things. Oh, maybe more than that. Someone shared their results online, and I'm having a hard time like understanding at a glance. What's surprising to me is that NutrEval. Oh, all right. No, it is giving you specific numbers. Up top, it wasn't giving you specific results or specific numbers. Okay, so this is actually testing a ton of stuff. That's really, really important. I'm actually happy to see a lot of this stuff on here. Okay, this looks like a really good test. At rough glance, this looks like a very thorough test. And I'm happy you're getting a test like this done because it should be very illuminating about what's going on inside your body. That's awesome. Okay, so happy to hear that, Nika. Lisa, hi, are you back from Florida? I mean, I hope you're back from Florida. I keep reading about how the COVID-19 cases in Florida are skyrocketing right now because they finally actually started testing. So they actually have numbers and they're high. So I hope you're not down there anymore. Yeah, Nika, that's a great test. Is that something that I know you've talked to me about your doctor not being so great to work with you? Is that something your doctor is doing with you, or is that something you're doing independently, Nika? Hi, Jack. It's been a while. Is that a new picture, a new profile picture? So glad to see you guys on. Totes. Halford's also really happy. He doesn't look happy, but he's being so cuddly. Okay, now he's done. He wants to go up to his bed. Okay, go up to your bed. Oh, you've been back from Florida, been working part-time. That's worth celebrating, but you're in a bit of a crash or a flare-up for a week. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, Lisa. It's so hard, you know, when you've been feeling better, you've been able to go on vacation, you've been able to work, and then the flare-up comes and you have to either, you know, scale back your activities or rest really, really hard in your downtime. I know what that's like. Okay. Oh, Nika, you're doing it independently with a functional practitioner. Super awesome. So I'm especially happy to hear that because it means that they're likely to understand how to interpret the results of that test. There's a lot going on that test. You know, like I talked about earlier, like the relative ratios of different things, how they interplay, like what it means when all these values look like this is really important. And it sounds like you might have someone who can do that for you. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Jack. Do I have any liver gallbladder pain? No. No, maybe I shouldn't say zero, but there have been like 3 instances when I've had extremely severe abdominal pain that could have been gallbladder pain, but wasn't. Like, of course, you know, like usual, I went to the doctor and they found nothing wrong with me on those 3 occasions. It may have been an intolerance to eggplant. I ate eggplant the day before I had that excruciating pain all 3 times, but I don't know. I don't know that that's relevant to you or helpful, but no, I wouldn't say I have like liver or gallbladder, really any intestinal pain, you know, except for the occasional gas pain. Just being human. Yeah, no, sorry about that, Jack. Hey, Darius, want to say hi? No, he just wants to be pet too. The pets are so snuggly today. It's nice. They're not always this snuggly. Let's see. Yeah, I'm actually going in for, well, I was supposed to go in for a doctor's appointment this week, but I moved it back because I don't really have much going on with me. And the doctor didn't like that I pushed it back. So he wanted to schedule a telemedicine appointment with me. So I have a telemedicine appointment today, which is, part of our new normal in this world. Telemedicine as opposed to going into seeing the doctor all of the time. Telemedicine wasn't always covered by insurance. Actually, it wasn't covered at all by insurance. I had to pay extra to visit a doctor remotely, even though there's so much less overhead, and you would think that telemedicine would have been easy and covered by insurance all this time, and it wasn't. But now it is, and it makes life better. So yeah, I don't know. My doctor wants me to just get more blood work just to check up on stuff. So if we find anything, I'll of course update you guys on that. But I'm expecting my thyroid to still be kind of normal. Hopefully the antibodies continue going down over time like they have been from so many years and years of healthy living, healthy lifestyle, eating well, really working on my sleep. I still take lots of supplements, exercising enough, and then of course working on the mental aspect of things. If my doctor does recommend blood work done and I get anything done soon, the one thing I'd be concerned about is because life has been so stressful for the past 2 weeks. Ever since the protests and riots happened here, it was a very, very, very stressful time for me to live through. And it took a lot to try to keep myself, calm and able to move forward and able to continue focusing on my business and my health and also, spending more time learning about systemic racism that may have had a little bit of an impact on me. So I might want to wait a little bit longer before getting blood work done, just so that the residual stress isn't going to show anything unusual in the blood results that isn't a long-term issue, because intense short-term stress can absolutely cause changes in the body that can be picked up by blood work. And I just don't want to have any of that noise interfering with how we address my health going forward. As an aside, Jack says, thanks, Kristin. No worries. I had a blood test done and nothing came up. Pain was really bad, but has improved, but is still a dull ache. Yeah, Jacko, actually, I want to recommend a book to you. I don't know what your cognitive abilities are like these days, if you're even able to read a book, or if you'd be able to listen to a book maybe. Let me look up here, yeah, this is it. It's by Dr. Gabor Mate, and it's called When the Body Says No. Oh, such a fantastic book. Dr. Gabor Mate he's been an MD. He has studied psychology intensely. He has worked with a lot of very, very ill patients over the years in hospice, and he has some really interesting insights and also science-backed takes on chronic illness that I haven't read elsewhere. And he in that book, he talks about how studies have shown that some people who tend to have autonomic system dysfunction actually become extremely sensitized to sensations. The gut itself can actually feel much more extreme pain in response to much smaller issues, right? So it's kind of you can have people in a room talking, and there'd be one person whose ears hurt from the noise, when to everyone else that noise is fine and normal. That kind of sensitization can happen to the nerves in the gut, causing extreme pain from small bloating issues or things that aren't actually directly problematic. And he talks some about how people have addressed those sensitivities and how to I think he talks a little bit about how to understand if it's like a sensitivity versus a direct physical issue that you're facing. So I don't know if you could read that, or I don't know. I'm just throwing that book out there if you have the ability to consume that information. If you don't, I don't think it's going to be the difference between like healing and not healing, but I think it could provide some comfort and understanding if you are able to read it. Let's see. Lisa says nothing is wrong with you except maybe your heart rate is a bit high. You're fine. LOL. Yeah, I know. Hi, Heather Hartman. Welcome. You have a question. Do I feel a lot better in super, super hot and dry weather like 90s or 100s? So I don't know because I was never in dry high temperatures when I was severely ill. I'm no longer severely ill. So I live in Philadelphia, and when it gets into the 90s or 100s here in Philadelphia, it's extremely humid heat. Like it's in the like 90 to 95% humidity range. So it's that awful oppressive heat. And when I was in that kind of heat, I did not feel better at all because I actually had pretty intense temperature sensitivity, meaning my body didn't seem to be able to regulate its temperature on its own. And when I got too hot, my body didn't sweat. It felt awful. Like I literally just felt terrible if I got too hot. Same thing if I got too cold. Like I wasn't able to shiver to like increase my body temperature. I would just feel massively ill if I got too cold until I warmed up. So I needed to kind of live in like a small window of temperatures, or constantly be like taking layers on and off to regulate myself. And I really had to be very, very careful about exposing myself to hot temperatures too much. But if that had been like, if it had been in the 90s and dry, I don't know how my body would have reacted because it is a different kind of heat. So I couldn't tell you. I will say that some people seem to think that their symptoms are better in hot, dry locations because hot, dry locations make it harder for mold to grow. So there's less mold in those areas. People feel that when they live in mold-free environments, they feel a lot better. Whereas, like where I live in the Northeast, it's a lot wetter. There's a lot more mold inside homes and in air ducts and things like that. And some people feel a big difference from that. Whether or not mold is causing the health issues or whether the body's sensitivity to mold is a symptom of health issues, I think is still up for debate. But that would be the one thing I would think of. Not even sure if that's on topic or a tangent to what you were asking, but I thought I'd mention it. Lisa says she's right outside Chicago. Lots of destruction and looting. Yeah, very similar to Philly, I'm sure. Oh, you too, Heather. Thank you. Oh, David Graham. That is a big diagnosis. When you say EDS, I assume you mean I'm not pronouncing it right, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. EHLERS, Danlos syndrome. Now, you'd think that would be a pretty easy one to diagnose because of the hyperflexibility, but it can be pretty devastating for some people. And EDS often is accompanied by other health issues. So like, David, how do you feel having a diagnosis? For people who've been chronically ill, like we have, it's usually a pretty positive thing to finally get a diagnosis because then you know what's wrong and you can start treating it. Maybe it's not the only thing that's wrong, or maybe it is, but people usually feel pretty good about getting a diagnosis. So I'm wondering how you feel about it. Lisa says she's read Dr. Gabor Mate's book. It's such a good one. Oh, Alonzo knows Dr. Gabor Mate. Alonzo gets gallbladder pain often. It got infected a year ago and hasn't really healed and hurts when eating fat. Yeah, that's what that gallbladder does. It can become intolerant to producing the enzymes to digest too much fat at once. Heather says, sounds like me. It's horrible. Jacko says, thank you. You're welcome, Jacko. Yeah, Heather, you're welcome. Heather says she likes humid, doesn't know why she feels better June to September in the hottest temperatures. The rest of the months I feel horrible. I don't get it. I bet this whole house is full of mold. Only feel better outside, LOL. Heather, that could be a thing. You might want to get your home tested for mold if you're really concerned about that. If spending time outside really leaves you feeling that much better, it might be worth knowing. But if you're going to get your home tested for mold, you also have to be prepared to act on any findings that they have, because mold, when you're this ill and there's a major mold problem, it often can't be remediated. Sometimes you just need to move. So I just want to say that to make you aware of potential outcomes of that. And yes, moving is hard, but moving is one short-term event, whereas living in mold is a constant thing over a long period of time. And if it's harming your ability to heal and it's slowing down your healing journey, you've really got to ask yourself if it's worth it. Jack, you're a bit stuck. Jack, I feel so bad. My heart goes out to you, bud. Part of you wants to work with a new practitioner you found, a homeopath with bioresonance and highly recommended, mainly to fix your gut. However, you're being told by a few people that you should just focus on calming your nervous system down. Oh, you're doing ANS rewire. I'm glad to hear that. You're trying not to focus on symptoms and relying on practitioners, but not too sure what to do. Jacko, I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you what the right thing for you to do is. I can't know that. It's your decision. So one part of the healing mindset that was extremely useful for me was realizing that as much as I wanted to try everything at once and just do it all and just get better, doing it all at once doesn't help. Okay. When you're doing something like ANS Rewire, it's a pretty intense program. It's pretty, I won't say all encompassing, but it's a big commitment, and you're changing up large areas of your life to do ANS Rewire, to do it properly. And what'll happen is if you start doing multiple things at once, you start overlaying a new practitioner, new treatments, and new this and new that. One is they could start interfering with each other, and you're not going to know which one's negative and which one's positive. Another one is that you're going to start feeling better, but you're not going to be sure which one's helping you. So you have to maintain both for the long term. And it just becomes psychologically, emotionally, physically draining to have to maintain like multiple programs like that at once. I realize if ANS Rewire was just like a simple, like meditate every day kind of thing, I would be pretty supportive of doing that while also working with a new practitioner. But from my understanding, it's a lot more involved than that. And I don't necessarily know that it would be good for you to take on two major changes like that, two major programs at once. Because my experience working with new doctors, new functional medicine doctor, new practitioner, homeopath, you said, they're going to want to overhaul a lot of things in your life. So, I would really think about allowing this to take time. I know you want to get better yesterday, don't we all? But there's been this pattern of trying a lot of new things all the time, Jacko. Like every time we talk, there's a lot of new stuff going on. And your approach of doing all the things all the time, I think it's time to evaluate, is it getting you where you want to be? Are you happy with the results of doing all the things all the time? Does it feel good to do all the things all the time? Are you enjoying that process? Do you feel like it's actually helping you and getting you to where you want to go? And if it is, then that sounds like a good process to continue doing all the things all the time. But if you're not getting the results you want, if it doesn't feel good, if you're not enjoyable, if you're kind of miserable doing everything all the time, which I had been, then it's time to say, okay, maybe I need to just try one thing at a time. and get as much benefit out of that, maximize that one thing, get everything out of it that you can. Make it a solid habit. Make it so it's not so new anymore. Make it so that you've kind of mastered this one thing before adding in the next. So I said that to try to get you to think about your approach and what you feel is working for you, and to help you make that decision of whether to continue doing lots of new things or whether to really focus on one thing at a time. And only you can do that. Okay. But I am curious about which way you go. Heather, you live in San Antonio and you rent. Yeah, you know what? There's also different local laws around mold. You might be able to have the homeowner pay for mold remediation. They may just evict you straight up. I've had that happen to me before. Actually, I was living somewhere. My roommate and I were not feeling well. We got the place tested for mold, and it came back positive for black mold. And the owner just evicted us and said, "We don't have the money to pay for remediation, so we're just going to find new renters." Is that legal where I lived? No, but it happened because we were in our mid-20s and didn't have money to go get a lawyer. But was it better for my health? Yeah. Was it a huge pain? Yeah, but glad I did it. Heather, you have a few good months here in Texas. Oh, am I rubbing? Oh, no, it's that thing. Okay. Any other states you feel horrible? Yeah, might be. It could be an old thing. It could be maybe something else about the dry heat. I don't know. Hi, AP. I always get a full night of sleep, but constantly feel tired and no energy to do anything. Yes, welcome to the club. Exactly like Heather said, that's a huge part of CFS. It's also a huge part of lupus, fibromyalgia, hypothyroidism, a ton of other diseases, Lyme's disease. AP says, I don't actually know much about CFS, but you do know the symptoms. I first thought I was constantly tired because I'm not getting enough sleep. But even though I got a full night of sleep, I still feel lethargic. Yes. For everyone here, sleep is not enough to cure this. It's not about sleep. It could be about sleep quality. You might want to start nerding out on sleep quality and not just how long you sleep, but the quality of the sleep for that time. Improving that may help you see some benefits. May not heal you all the way, but it may show some benefits in the short term. But yeah, there could be a lot going on here. So AP, I'm really curious about what you've done in terms of talking to doctors, getting tests done, trying to get diagnosed. Have they ruled anything out? What's your path like while looking for answers so far? Because when we know like where you're at in your journey, that's where not just me, but people in the comments can also chime in and kind of help fill you in about what's going on and maybe where to go from here. Yeah, ditto. Yeah, Heather's so sweet. Oh, Heather says, this is a slumlord. They are huge jerks. It's difficult because I personally have no income and live with my husband and his mom. That does make it very, very difficult. I will tell you what, Heather, when I was in the house that had mold, I had no income. Well, I can't say I had no income. I didn't have enough income. I wasn't able to pay my bills off my income. I was living mostly off my savings at the time. And my income came from a business I had. I had an app I was selling. So thankfully it didn't really take like any of my energy to keep that going for a while, which I know is a benefit that not everybody has. It does make it hard. I will say when I was in that situation, I ended up moving in with a friend who had an extra spare bedroom. It wasn't a nice house. It was far away from town. It was hard for me to get groceries and things that I needed. I was alone most of the time, which was very, very difficult and challenging for me. But being out of a moldy house was still better for me. It was better for me to be lonely and far away and in a not nice place while I was healing than it was for me to stay in that very nice, very close to town moldy house. Yeah, it was a big deal for me. So I'm just sharing that like I didn't go into an ideal scenario. I just didn't go rent another house. I basically just like squatted at my friend's house for a while, for several months. Yeah, Heather says, you're right. I got to get out of here. It's worth, I think it's worth testing. Maybe it's worth, I don't know if you know anyone who lives in a brand new house where there's no mold, or if they've been tested and they have no mold. It'd be worth trying to stay somewhere else for a few nights. I would probably go for 3 days, 2 nights, 3 days minimum, and see if that leaves you feeling better than where you are currently staying before making the full jump. You want to test these things out before making, a huge life-changing decision. But it can help. I actually, honestly, I had a more recent mold issue. I had a mold issue a year ago in my apartment. I kept having water damage. My ceiling over and over and over, water damage, water damage, water damage. And the landlords just kept basically like painting over it instead of fixing the problem. And I was starting to have really weird health issues again. And I go to my doctor and he's like, do you think you might have mold in your apartment? He says, it's just based off my symptoms. And I'm like, oh yeah, I bet I do. And I left my apartment for 3 days in a row and I had none of the health issues that had been popping up for me. So I moved. And yeah, it's been great. All right, Jacko says, thanks, Kristin. Yeah, I think I need to commit and finish the ANS rewire, and then maybe in 3 to 6 months come back to the homeopath. I've cut every other treatment out, etc. Okay, that sounds like a good decision for you then. If that feels like the right thing to do, then I want to fully support you in that. I'm actually really excited that you are doing ANS rewire. And of course, we all want to hear about how that goes for you, Jack. AP, another question, do teens also suffer from CFS? Yeah, people of any age suffer from CFS. There are children, teens, adults of all ages, even people who are, older, closer to retirement. It really doesn't discriminate when it comes to age, which is heartbreaking. Oh, Heather, you're welcome. Let's see, Heather says, my friends are hoarders. I stayed there too and felt slightly better. So weird. Their houses were somewhat dirty, but you understood. Yeah, dirt and mold are very different things. Heather says she had CFS as a teen. It started after a series of viruses. That's a very common story. Yeah, I know. It makes me cry too sometimes that children get sick. It's a really, it's just the most unfair thing, but that doesn't stop it. All right, guys, excuse me. We're just over an hour. I can give you guys a little more time if we got more questions. And then I'll get back to work. Let's see. All right. Well, it was really great to see some old faces on here again. Some people I haven't seen in a while. Good to say hi to you guys. I love when you guys join. I love when you guys talk with each other and help one another out too. Because it's not just about I'm not here saying I have all the answers. I don't. There is a little bit of we want to be there for each other, and having that emotional support from someone who understands us, someone who doesn't doubt us or question us is so, so important. It's so, so important to just know that someone has our back in this without all the questioning, right? You are welcome, Jack. I hope the best for you, for all of you. All right. Heather asks, what am I working on? I am building a company called Resilient Productivity, where I help analytical high performers become even more resilient to sustain the careers that they love. I've worked with many professionals now who are in their 30s and 40s who love what they do, and yet they find themselves so exhausted and burned out that they're questioning how they're going to keep up their high productivity for the next month, let alone the next 10, 20, or 30 years. So it's really about giving people the confidence to continue working and having the impact they want to have over the long term. And I'll be honest with you guys, it's pretty much the healing mindset, but applied in a business setting. It's just a different application of the same principles. Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that. If you can tell, I've been practicing my pitch. I've been doing all the networking remotely for the past few months. All right, guys, I'm going to head, as always, sending you all of my love and so much health. I'm Kristin. I hope to see you guys same time, same place next week, 1 p.m. Eastern. Next Thursday, show up with your questions. I will show up with my answers. If you guys want to interact and ask some questions in the meantime, you can join the Facebook group. I'm mostly leaving it as a place for you guys to post and ask questions and share your wins and like whatever you guys want to talk about. And I'll be there to support whatever we're going to talk about, answer your questions there as well. If you're not there yet, you can, when this video is over, you should be able to refresh the page, and in the description area, there'll be a link to the Facebook group. You can request to join there, and I'll go in and approve you right away. All right. Oh yeah, Heather, that's sweet. Everyone have a day of less pain. All right. You're welcome, AP. Hope to see you guys again. Bye.